Welcome to the Vatech software introduction. Today we're going to look at EzDent-i, Ez3D-i in preparation for utilizing the software and getting a greater understanding. Here you can see I'm on my desktop. We have two icons. We have our EzDent-i and our Ez3D-i. First, let's look at EzDent-i here. As I click on this, it opens at the bottom of the screen. You can see it's this green icon here. And this is where we're going to have our list of patients. We can enter our patients here, and it's going to store all of our files here. So you can see that I have my CBCT here. Other options with this software, we can acquire from here if we're taking a CT, pan, IO sensor, or camera image. We have our viewer to view optional images, our consult, and then finally our reporting. So let's start with our patient tab. To add a patient, I'm going to click on the plus, and we can add last name, first name, gender, and date of birth, and click on add. Here you can see that I've added a patient. It's automatically supplied the chart number. I've given this April 7th as a name and just left the date of birth alone. Then I have my image here, which is, if I hover over this, it tells me it's a occlusion center scan on our 16:9 device. I'm going to go ahead and double click here, and this is going to bring up our 3D software. So you'll notice down at the bottom of my toolbar I have several icons running here, but this icon is our Ez3D-i, which is our 3D imaging, and this is our EzDent-i, which is where all of our records are stored. So a little bit about the Ez3D-i software. Let's start with all of our tabs at the top. We've got our NPR all the way through consult. And what we're going to look at today is kind of the basics to get you started to optimize the software. All right. So one option we have here is looking at, I'm left clicking and rotating around our 3D image. Note the little icon down here, the typodont, shows us the position we're in. I can also easily use my quick buttons, left 45, our AP view, all the way through our head looking down. And I can click right here. Other things I want to point out today are under this measurement tab, the drop downs. You have your subcategories, measurement, capture, annotation, all the way through, etc. Off to the right are our specific options. So under capture, you can see we have capture region, capture window, and multi-capture. This button right here is very important. This is our reset button, to where if I move my images, I can click my reset, and it's going to take me right back to the original position of the scan. Your screen may look a little bit different, so I'm going to scroll with the wheel on my mouse here, and let's look at our left toolbar for change layout. Your toolbar usually will be set here to our 4 windows. I went in to change layout, right-clicked here, set as default, and clicked to have 1 large window and 3 windows off to the right. As I left click and drag, you can see my image move around. Let's talk about our different windows here. Our axial window. As I scroll through, you can see this is highlighted in blue. I have on my right side and my left side. We're looking from the foot looking up in our axial window. So what I'm going to do is right click, switch to main view, and use the wheel on my mouse to scroll up superior or scroll down inferior. You can see the blue line in our alternate windows moving at the same time. And scroll up here. Other options here are our sagittal window. So let's right click and switch to main view. And here's where we're going lateral to medial. So as I go through and scroll, I'm following in my alternate window, so my sagittal is marked in red. You can see my red line moving here, going across the image here. Note that the sagittal view is looking from the left to the right. So as I scroll across on our left ridge, we are looking buccal in lingual. And as I get to the right, we are looking lingual out buccal, going across. Let's next look at our coronal. Right click, switch to main view. This is gold. You can see my gold slice here and my gold slice here. As I scroll posterior, we're looking front, left side, and right side. Scroll forward or backwards, and we can look and see what we're seeing on screen. Quick note here, spacebar is going to toggle off the crosshairs that you saw on screen. So spacebar and spacebar. I'm going to spacebar those back on. And I'm going to right click down in my 3D window here, switch this to the main view. I want to go and look at a few settings. So on here, if I go to my axial slice, see this blue plane of view? As I scroll up, that whole blue plane is filled in. Settings on yours are going to be a little different, so let's go ahead and change some settings. So I'm going to go up to main menu. I'm going to go down to settings. And we're first going to make sure our teeth code is set from FDI to universal. Next, we're going to click on view. I'm going to go to 3D view. And I want to go down to plane type, and we're going to change this to from outline to plane. And we're going to select OK. So that will show you that now the plane of view that we're viewing has been filled in a single slice going through there. And we can rotate around. So I'm going to come back up to my important reset button, and we're going to reset our view. And let's talk about our 3D rendering here. So we have our teeth view. If I click on this next view here, it's going to be bone. You can see how it fills in more of that crestal ridge in the bone. This next one is going to be MIP, maximum intensity projection. Highlights the bone throughout, more like a 3D X-ray here. We do have our soft tissue profile. Adds the patient's soft tissue here. And I have soft tissue 2, which will highlight more of our outline of our paranasal sinus and our esophagus through there. Let's take it back to our teeth mode and look at our image here. Let's talk about navigating through this image here. So we have a couple options. If I find the area of interest, I can double click and it's going to take us right to that area of interest. Then I can move my slices to where we want to see in my alternate windows. If I go down here to my endo, we can double click and it takes us right to that area. We can move our images around to highlight that one area. Let's go back to my reset. Other options here, we can right click. Let's start with our axial slice. I can come over here and grab this blue line and move it up or down. So you notice where my cursor is. I have the 2 single arrows. If I go right to the center, I have 4 arrows, and that allows me to target and move my windows. Or if I come here, I can rotate. So different navigation there. So if I grab this and I move this down, we can look at our molar with that endo, drag, and then I can come out to the end and I can rotate. This is going to position my windows to target our endo in all of our windows, our sagittal, our coronal, and our axial. Moving on from our MPR, our maximum, our multiplanar reconstruction window, I'm going to look at our 3D pan window. Let's click on 3D pan. What this does is takes our 3D rendering and reconstructs it into a flat panoramic image. This is a nice place to start. We can double click on an area and it takes our crosshairs right to what we want to see. So let's talk about our 3D pan window, 3D panorama. You still have your virtual renderings here, so I like to use my grayscale. Down here, the scout, this kind of shows us what we're seeing at this target. So if I come down and double click on my endo, you can see where we're located, and I can see my slices down here. Now note we do have 3 slices. I'm going to double click on the center slice here. So I have 1 slice. We have our sectional with our buccal and our lingual. And I can come here and I can grab these lines and rotate, or I can rotate so this line is perpendicular, and we can scroll down through those canals. Again, we have our reset button, and we're going to reset our NPR. So let's go down and let's go ahead and rotate, and I can scroll back posterior, and we can scroll forward, or our distal and then mesial. As I'm doing this, let's look for our nerve, and I can see my nerve right here, the nerve bundle. Here is your nerve tool. If I hover over that, draw canal. Let's click on draw canal, and I'm going to scroll back posterior, and I'm going to click, scroll forward, and click, click, and I'm just using the wheel on the mouse all the way through the image. Once I find my mental foramen, I'm going to double click, and we have our nerve traced on our image. I'm going to go to my reset button and reset our NPR window here. So next let's talk about taking a photo of this 3D pan. So I'm going to use the wheel on my mouse and scroll, and I'm going to hit my space bar, which is going to remove our crosshairs here. I can go up to 3D pan and double click, and it's going to enlarge my window, and go to my capture view frame. It's going to capture 1 large window. That is going to save my image into my EzDent-i. So if I click back on the patient's name, we can see we have our recreated pan on screen. I'm going to double click and hit my space bar back to our original position. Next, let's talk about placing an implant. I'm going to double click on my area of interest. Our crosshairs are navigated to that point. I can rotate if necessary. I can drag my box to the area of interest. Note when I'm dragging, I am not hovering on the lines. I'm hovering in the negative space to position my crosshairs right in the area of interest. Let's come down and double click on our slice. We're going to go back up to our measurement. Left click and left click. Click from the ridge to the sinus, and I can drag our lines out of the way. From here, I'm going to go ahead and right click and hide these, and right click and hide. Let's go over to insert implant. I'm going to choose my tooth. In this case, we're going to use our Stramen. We can go with our drop down for whichever implant we want to place. We'll just use our SLA. And we can go down to the 4:1 by 10. And down here, I've got several choices. I'm going to start with click point and click on insert. And we get this pop-up window, selected implants number 12. My cursor becomes the implant. I can click on screen wherever we want to place our implant. Our implant has been placed. Click on my implant to highlight it in red. I can move it by left clicking and moving it bodily. Or I can come up here and rotate to move my implant into place. I've added this bone density window, and let's look at how to change our layout in the 3D pan window. So I have change layout. Usually it's defaulted here. I'm going to go ahead and right click, set as default, and left click to change it green. And now I have my 3D bone density window. As I left click and drag through here, I have my green arrow or green peg, which refers here, and this shows my color range for bone density. 4250 being harder or more dense, 0 being distilled water, -1000 being air, so you can see our color range around that implant itself. Let's go back up to our MPR and scroll to the top of our image here. I would like to look at a couple other tools on the top toolbar. These icons here are going to be static, meaning that they'll be on almost all of your windows here. The panning tool will allow you to move the image around. The magnifying glass, left click it to zoom in and out. We went through our measurement tool where you left click and left click. To turn these tools off, you right click, and you can right click and delete. We reviewed our nerve or draw canal. We reviewed our capture view frame, which is going to be one window, our important reset view, finally our export. So export allows us to export the data. So if I click on export, it gives us options to export CD or DVD and local disk. In this case, I'm going to choose local disk. I'm going to leave my compression here lossless. You have the option to zip the file. And here we can check to export. It always exports the DICOM. If you want to export your project, you can do it here. Or I will always recommend having the viewer on here also. We do have an option here to anonymize your patient's information. Once I have these selected, I can click on Save, choose the area. So I'm going to go desktop, and I simply click Select Folder. And this is going to export the data to be exported with the viewer. So the office that you're sending this to will also have the option to open the software within this viewer. One last icon I would like to look at within the EZ3D-i software is going to be our user guide, or help. So here you can see that we have our help icon. This goes through all the options of the software, quick search through the images through there. In our EzDent-i patient here, we also have our help, which allows you your helper user manual specifically to that software. Lastly, I would like to look at our webpage for other resources. Specifically, I went to vatechamerica.com. You have service and support at the center of the page. Scrolling down, we have our Customer Learning Center. Click on any of these options under 3D imaging for user videos for your device. Over to the right, your software user videos, 3D-i, 3D Plus, EzDent-i, all the way through our recorded webinars. To access these, I'm going to click on the subject. You will have to go in and create a new account. Go ahead and register your information and choose a product. In this case, I have already registered, so I'm going to click Login. This goes through our video training of our options. What is the MPR tab, section tab, and I'm going to scroll down all the way through reporting, capture software, and we also have some individual treatment series through here. How to export, and then user downloads for your reference. Other options, we have our webinar schedule, which shows all of our upcoming webinars with some of our key opinion leaders with our education team. Let's click back here. And if I go to service and support, and for future reference to schedule training, I can click on training. Here's your online scheduler, so you have access to the education team scheduler. You can click on register now, fill out your information. In this case, I'm going to go sign in. I already have a sign in here. And I can walk you through meeting the team. So if I want to book a training date, we can select our instructor, click on search, choose the training date, choose our time, click add. It books in 2-hour increments. You can request less as we go when we proceed to checkout here. Type in your message. I'm going to type in test. Click submit. You will receive an email of your training will be booked on your schedule and on ours. And that will have you schedule your training. I'm going to go back to home and you can see our online scheduler here. Lastly, let's look at anything when you would have to update your software. You can scroll down to the bottom of the page and here's your frequently used service links, installation kits for all of our software for your IT department. Let's go back to our home page.